Real, true education, not fake news, on YouTube and soon to be on Rumble. The 24th of January 2023. You're very welcome back to my channel, and this is on energy and the recent meeting of Cavan County Council as reported in the local newspaper, the Anglo-Celt. The Anglo-Celt used to print my letters, but it has stopped in recent times. 51M. And it's on the energy crisis, folks, and I raise my voice a little bit so that I can be clearly heard. It's not out of anger. I hate muttering. I like to be clear and distinct. Councillor Brendan Fay has a business in Belturbet. I think it's a pub, and he's a councillor in Belturbet in Cavan. For those of you from outside the country, Cavan is a rural county, about a little bit up in the North Midlands of the island of Ireland. It's about 70 miles across, east to west, and it's about 40 north to south, or a little less. And Cavan town is in the centre, and they had a meeting there of the local county council, elected members, and Councillor Fay was there. And he was complaining about the price of electricity on businesses, and it's closing down businesses. It's just so expensive. And he raised the issue. And he's an independent. And T.P. O'Reilly, a Fine Gael, a member of the government party, who has all the information he wants at his fingertips if he just asks, he said that he tabled a motion in October 2022 asking the right to the minister, demanding a reply on the energy crisis and the cost of electricity. He wrote to them. The council wrote a letter. And I could tell him what reception it would get. If there were short of toilet paper, they might use it for that purpose. Otherwise, it's thrown in the bin. He got no reply. He got no reply. No reply whatsoever. Now another councillor, Shane P. O'Reilly, who does post on Facebook a bit about the crazy energy policy and how the farmers are being pushed out by data centres. A bit of that, he's not too bad that way. But he piped up and he said the cost of electricity from Electric Ireland will go up 23% this January, right now. And that, don't forget, is on top of our existing increases that took place. Why? They have to pay for the fuel, but they also have to pay for all the wind energy, and the wind energy has to get the same as the fuel. That's the corrupt decision that was made. So he's complaining about the rising costs. And again, he says, we'll write to the minister. Now bear in mind, this council already wrote to the minister, and the minister threw it in the bin. I want to know, he says, what are they going to replace the heating systems in the homes with? What are they going to replace them with? He was talking about coal, oil and gas heating homes in the very cold weather. He says along the border, he says, we know that the price of a bag of coal was 15 and went up to 17 euros. It's now 50, which is nonsense because this is the price all over the Republic. It's in Northern Ireland that the price is less. It's about 32. And legitimate fuel distributors in the south are being put out of business because people are buying it in the north. Because there's none of this old green tax. So this is Shane P. O'Reilly, an independent councillor. They're all Reillys, as it turns out, except Fay. The other man is T.P. Reilly, and he's a government councillor. He's with the government parties. Shane P. also asked a question. How come the bill from Electric Ireland is 100% renewables? Right? Well, I could have told him that. The refit scheme in 2010 decided that the wind energy and solar energy would get the price of the highest fossil fuel in the system. So we'll say that three systems are normally coal, oil and gas. we'll say that gas was cheap. Let's say it was just normal price. Say maybe 60 euros a megawatt hour. It's a lot more than that. We'll say that oil was 60 euros a megawatt hour. But coal was 10 million euros per ton. For some reason, a piece of coal that size would cost 500 euros, and a ton of coal would be, what I say, was it 10 million euros. In other words, it would be so dear that a piece of coal would be worth more than a diamond ring. Right? If that happens, the wind energy has to get that price. Whichever of the fuels is the highest, the wind energy has to get that price. And I made a video on this. And these muggos never bothered looking at it. They're only living across the hedge from me, and they won't ask me. You know, we know hate that for that. I said, that fella's not in our favour. That fella, you know, he's dangerous, you know, you wouldn't want to talk to him. Eh? That's the reality. He said that it's on his bill that it's 70% renewable. My own bill with Electric Ireland, I have a house with Electric Ireland, is 67%. 67%. Right? Renewables. That's a lie. It can't be, you can't quantify the amount of your renewables. At the very best, it's about 4%. So he suggested that if wind is such a big part, if it's 100%, why then are customers not paying the fuel price? And the answer to that, if he cared to ask me, is corruption. He never objected to the refit scheme, neither did Councillor Riley on behalf of Fine Gael, and neither did Councillor Fay. They were asleep. And when I made videos a year ago telling them this, and long ago, several years ago, they refused to listen. Oh, that fella's again the windmill, you know. Oh, because I wouldn't listen to that fella. Oh, because I wouldn't listen to that fella. So they decided at the council to send another letter to him and Ryan. And we're going to ask him why. We're going to ask him why. My God, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to ask him why. I don't want to offend your sensibilities by telling you what he'd do with it. And he's bloody right. Because he's not in the business of supplying electricity at a reasonable rate to Cavan people or any Irish people. He's in the business of getting re-elected in Dublin South, where the jackasses up there care little for anything we do. The whole country's been run by Dublin TDs. And a little bit of information and a little bit of knowledge would have helped if these boys would listen. But they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. And now they're whinging because their people are complaining to them. And my advice to the people is don't complain to them. Just forget about voting for them. They were there, they were in a position to do something about it. They could have consulted the many people I could have put them in touch with and that know exactly what the situation was. They chose to be ignorant. So as I said, wind farms get the highest price. I made the example of 10 million euros a tonne for coal. That's what the wind has to get. The only way that can be changed is to tax them. And that's very difficult to do. There's legal issues with that. They sold out our electricity system to foreign-owned wind farm developers, such as Greencoat Renewables, and that's why these people was flahulach. The dearer the fuel got, the more they made. And they tried to say, oh, the fuel people wants to get rid of renewables. And I was promoting coal, oil and gas when we should be going green. And these rascals in government and the supporting politicians were actually giving the wind the same price as the fuel. And they were giving the wind the same price as the highest fuel. Not the lowest or a medium, the highest fuel. And blaming me for being on the side of the oil companies, the coal companies and the gas companies. And them linking the price of wind energy to fuel. Forever. For 25 and more years. And they'll do it again. And they'll do it again. Now, 10 independent Irish politicians have a bill going through the door, and this Cavan County Council doesn't seem to even know. Councillor T.P. Riley of Fine Gael, your people are not allowing this bill go through. It's you that's stopping this bill. This bill would try to cut the wind energy component. It got nowhere. It seems to be getting nowhere. They're not even aware that this is happening. That'll show you the level of ignorance by the Cavan County Council. Fine Gael are in power. They're partners in government. 100% renewables is what Shane P. O'Reilly said, councillor, is what's on his bill. That's what's on the bill. I have challenged that for SSE electricity. 2 years ago, I've put in a complaint to the Advertising Standards Authority, and the Advertising Standards Authority wrote 10 pages of baloney about buying credits, about buying tax credits, about carbon credits, about buying carbon credits here and buying carbon credits here, and supporting a wind farm somewhere else, and supporting some lad out in Africa putting up a pipeline or whatever else, and all this, and they eventually wrote their way out that there was nothing to it. That's the corruption of the advertising standards. I test every single one of them. I've tested the financial regulator for the breaches of the law. He told me to hump off. Have they anything to say about that? Advertising Standards Authority refused to entertain a complaint that the electricity was 100% renewable. It can't be 100% renewable. That is impossible. Impossible. There is no... If it's 100% renewable, why are we importing coal, oil and gas to produce electricity? And why have we recently opened up diesel generators in Dublin running on diesel? The answer is, it's a lie. L-I-E, a lie. People are scared, says Councillor Riley, about the no chimneys on the homes. People are scared. Well, how many of them are scared? I would beg to differ. I'd say about a 25%. About a quarter of people are scared enough to stop voting for these creeps. There may be half of them prepared to stop voting for these traditional parties and independents. There may be. But half of those are going to vote Sinn Féin. And they'll leave you lying under a tent. They'll take house on all of you. They're already doing it with migrants. There's a news centre opened up across Keys and Cavan. They're all around the place. They'll put you out on the road. So you won't have to worry about heating your place. You won't have a place. Okay? So why is there no chimney allowed on new houses? On a point of information, folks, that law is not in yet. Ryan is trying to push it, and they're trying to fight him on it. And they'll be saying in the next election, oh, it'll be in only for us. Oh, it'll be in only for us. They haven't said one word. And they have even, the barristers, a lot of them are on board with this. When we try to get them to enforce the SEA directive, a lot of barristers tell us we're wrong. Yet the European Court of Justice has ruled that we're right. It's not assessed. It's illegal. The whole planner programme is unlawful. These politicians have refused to ask me, and they thought when I was going to a lot of our TDs, our ministers and everything like that, and Sinn Féin, I've spoke to 3 of them, they thought I was begging them, please don't go ahead with this. No, folks, you are making a serious mistake. You seriously underestimated my motives. I have you hung. I have a record that I met you. And when it comes, if there's an inquiry, I'll give evidence to say I told him and he laughed at me. That's what I was at. Damien English, O'Keefe, Pat Rabbit, the whole, half the Department of Energy. I met 5 so-called engineers. I met the Sinn Féiners, I met them all. They all knew well, and they chose to ignore it. And now they have the hypocrisy to come out and whinge. Oh, it's getting a bit dear for people. I don't appeal to these councillors. I appeal to the people who have went in and marked their card. Will you, for God's sake, stay at home? If you can't stop voting for them, and you won't vote for anyone else, stay to hell at home, and if there's nobody else on it, stay at home. Because they'll put you out. They'll leave you with no diesel for your tractor. And a lot of you think that this is not going to happen. I meet them at funerals and weddings at the time. No, that'll never happen. There's no second-hand cars in the Toyota garages because there is none. So councillors refuse to be educated on the law, and the government is now going to take the left of the right. I'm sure they'll be getting them from several councillors, and they'll laugh at them. They'll throw it in the bin. And I'd like to say it a bit more, but I don't like to insult people. There's a bit of paper. The renewable plan's unlawful. The renewable plan is unlawful. It's in breach of the SEA directive. None of these politicians even took a minute to see that when they instituted the renewable energy feed-in tariff about 2010, and all of the plans, they gave the wind companies and solar companies the price of the highest fossil fuel that is in the system. And as the price of these fuels increase, the price of the bill goes up. And the wind companies are laughing all the way to the bank, and they knew all about that, and they launched a media offensive with Radio Television Sheridan, our broadcaster, with the connivance of the media, and they had a ring of steel around it, and they had the help of things like the World Economic Forum, another crowd of rascals, United Nations, Davos, GOP 27, and all of this. To hell with the Irish bill payer. We'll give everything we have in our possession to somebody else and let our voters go to hell. And it looks to us that the voters will support us at the next election. And half of them will. If you put them on the road, took their houses off them and let them sleep in a tent, they'd still go in. I vote for Paddy Whack. He's for Fianna Fáil. Sure, my grandfather, you know, he got a pension when he was 95 and he lived another 2 years. Only for them crowd I'd never get it. I never forgot. I'd win and I'd vote for them. Give me that pen here. And give me that pen. And I'd plough in and I'd vote. I wish I had 50 votes. That's the mentality of the Irish voter for Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Labour, and all the left-wing parties. There are 10 rural TDs, and only 4 of them will be sunk altogether. At least they have some little bit of initiative to try and bring in a bill to bring down the prices and stop this ridiculous fraud, this ridiculous sellout of our people and the destruction of our electricity systems, with companies going, they can't pay the bills, Argos is shutting down, they can't pay the electricity. And that's happening in Europe as well. And when they're poor and very poor, then maybe they'll think. But then it's too late. All I can do, folks, is to bring it to your attention and to try and don't listen to this nonsense. Don't listen to it. Bye. We'll see you back for something else soon. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And comment underneath whether you agree with me or don't.